Hello, this is our Science Fair project. My teammates and I will tell you everything you need to know about how Eratosthenes measured the Earth. In 2000, humans started sending satellites into space to get accurate ground measurements.
The satellite wasn't the first method to measure the Earth.
Lalo, tell us about who was Eratosthenes.
Eratosthenes was a Greek philosopher, astronomer, geographer, historian, mathematician, and writer, recognized for being the first to calculate the circumference of the Earth. Alright, Maggie, tell us about Eratosthenes' method.
Although it sounds quite simple, his method does have its difficulty. It consisted on planting a stick onto the ground and wait until the moon created a shadow. Next up, this method will be explained in greater depth.
But first, who was Eratosthenes? Eratosthenes was born in 276 before Christ in the ancient city of Cyrene. He earned his fame because of his knowledge in various areas. He knew about lots of things, like math, geography, poetry, and astronomy. A very wise man, one may say. Archimedes gave him the nickname Pentaton, but he was not the only one to give him a nickname. His critics called him Beta.
He also cultivated poetry and philosophy, and even taught the children of Ptolemy, which means he was not only smart, but also kind. He is best known for calculating the circumference of the Earth using previous knowledge. He really was brilliant. He also calculated the obliquity of the ecliptica, and is known as the father of geography. His achievements were great, but all good things must come to an end. He passed away in 194.
Air measurement relied on the approximated distance, as well as the approximation method, and did not require detailed observation. He predicted the Earth was 39,600 kilometers as compared to our measurement today, which is exactly 40,009. This amazingly close. Eratosthenes has estimated the diameter of a planet to be 250,000 states.
He came to this conclusion because Eratosthenes understood that the range between Alexandria and Cyone was 5,000 paces. He also realized there were 360 degrees in a circle. He simply divided 360 by 7.2 and considered the answer to be 50. If there were 50 fragments around the Earth, equals to the distance between Alexandria and Cyone, its diameter was 250,000 kilometers.
Other discoveries of Eratosthenes. He was the first to prove his claims, which is why he is considered as the first mathematician in history. Also, he identified that there are 5 geometric theorems. He developed a geometric method, which will allow him to calculate distance from the Earth to the Moon and beyond the Earth to the Sun. And even his results were not as accurate as in reality they are. The method is perfectly correct if we analyze it from the point of view of the history of science.
He was the first to explain why the Nile River flows each year, seasonal rains falling near the location of the river, triggering an annual flooding in Egypt. He is actually recognized as the father of geography because he created the world's first map with Mediterranean lines and fault lines. These were identical to current latitude and longitude lines.
The importance of this. So although it may have been in ancient times all these discoveries, we can realize that without the technology we have today, we are able to achieve this calculation almost exactly using nothing more than our abilities, mathematics, and knowledge. So it was very important what he achieved because he is still encouraged.
So in conclusion, he was very important because he made this discovery, and thanks to it we can see that mathematics are actually very important for making greater advancements. It is very important to have knowledge of mathematics and have an open mind, always in the pursuit of solution, with being independent of a calculator or computer, because like Eratosthenes, we can basically solve any problem by using our logical and mathematical knowledge, and thus make things in our life easier to understand.
So now we are gonna make an experiment to explain how did Eratosthenes measure the Earth. So the materials for these experiments are a dustpan, a compass, paper, tape, a notebook, a rule, and a pencil. Also a chronometer and lighting.
And now, time to do the experiment. Our first step will be to collocate the dustpan and the paper in a way that the shadow of the dustpan matches with the paper. Now we are going to do a mark where the shadow ends. We will make a mark where the shadow ends. Now we will set the timer for 5 minutes. Now we will have to write down some stuff. First of all, we need to write down the length of the shadow. Also, we need to write down the times. After the 5 minutes are done, we will have to make another mark where the shadow ends. As we can observe in the results, the shadow length changes as the sun moves on. But now, you're probably asking yourself, how does this relate to the topic? Well,
In this experiment, we can do a part of the measures that Eratosthenes did. Obviously, he did in a much bigger scale with Alexandria. We can observe that even though the process of Eratosthenes wasn't complicated, it was still very creative, intelligent, and impressive.